Now, currently I'm coaching at the High Performance Center at Gymnastics Victoria. So it's a state-run facility. So I'm a senior coach there. And on top of that, I run still a company back in the United States with my brother and other business partner, Gym Crew Talent Management, where we manage guys on the national team, and then also, one of the co-founders of Gymnasticsville. So got my hands in all over the place right now.
That is so amazing, really. So
Yeah.
you're at the High Performance Center. That's really interesting. So tell us a little bit about coaching, like the Australian system and coaching in
Uh,
the
well,
Australian system.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit different. They have a centralized programs in Australia, unlike the United States, where, the best athletes generally train in various clubs. In Australia, a lot of their top athletes come to their state-run facilities. And those are sponsored by, the state government and things like that. So, I'm just out here coaching gymnastics. When you coach gymnastics, it's all the same everywhere you go. So, dealing with the ups and downs of being a gymnastics coach. So, it's good though.
That is so amazing. It's good. I wasn't aware, and it's always good to find out what people are doing. And how are you guys doing out there with COVID?
Oh, Australia has, essentially eliminated COVID here. We have had zero cases in the past week. We were in a 5-day lockdown recently, but that was because we had a total of 13 cases in the state over 5 days. So we've hit in Australia has really hit COVID really aggressively here. Our original lockdown was, it was almost like 8 continuous months where we weren't really able to go about and have a normal life. But in the long run, it's paid off to where, COVID is essentially non-existent here. And so, we're able to get about normal life here as much as possible.
Wow, that's amazing. So are you guys going through all the vaccination and stuff like that?
We actually just started last week here.
I see.
So, yeah, we just got the first people vaccinated in the state, I think 2, 3 days ago.
And do you still have to wear a mask?
Yeah, masks are still worn. I still have to wear a mask during practice, still have to wear a mask on all public transport and indoors.
Hmm.
So, but it's normal here, that they really have band together as a country and a culture here to really do their best to, keep everyone safe, and mask wearing is something that, for the most part, everyone does.
Right. Oh, that's great. It's great to hear that
Yeah.
one. We're still trying to handle it here in the States. I'm sure you've
No.
heard, right? Because your
Oh,
family
of course,
here.
of course. My family's still back there, and I talk to my family, I talk to my parents at least once, twice a week, and I talk to my brother about every day. So,
Wow, wow. So tell me about how you got your start in gymnastics.
how I got my start in gymnastics. Well, I think it all probably started when I was watching 1992 Olympics. I'm pretty sure I was pretty young. I think at that point, I was about 5, 6 years old. And then I just started flipping around the house with my older brother, because my older brother also was a gymnast as well. And I wanted to do everything he did. So I flipped in the house a lot. My parents were like, yeah, our house is entirely too small for this. So let's put this somewhere else. So I joined a recreational department at West Philadelphia called Sarah Mars. And that's when I started tumbling program just in a small rec. It was, a room,
Yeah.
30 by 30, if that. And that's how I got my start.
That's so great. That's so interesting because it's I didn't know you were also a recreational gymnast. That's where I took mine as well. So it's interesting.
Exactly. Yeah.
So recreation, just a small tumbling program in Philadelphia, recreation. And then how did you go from that to the yeah.
Into actual gymnastics.
Yeah.
Well, after, I think I went through 2 seasons of that, and I won every competition, and then the tumbling coach is like, yeah, he needs to be challenged. And then after that, I went to a couple clubs, or a few didn't really stick because I was there for maybe a month or two. And then finally I went to a program called Macy's Gymnastics Academy of Gymnastics out in Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. Macy Watson was a temple gymnast and also, an African-American gymnast and club owner. So it was one of those gyms where we just really just fell into a place that was really comfortable. And, then just right after that, it was, smooth sailing from there, if you want to call it smooth sailing in gymnastics.
Right, right. Oh, that's so interesting. So that's good to know. So is his club still going on, or what's going on with that?
No, his club is not still there. I
Yeah,
think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was around for about 10, 12 years, and then
gotcha.
he moved to Virginia.
Hmm.
So I think he's coaching down in Virginia right now. So yeah.
That's so interesting. So you went from a recreation program in Philly
Yeah.
to a Black-owned gymnastics club, which is
Correct.
extremely rare. I mean, you probably.
Oh, very, very. I know. Jamaican too was awesome. It was
Oh,
awesome.
really? He
Yeah,
was Jamaican?
yeah, Jamaican. Yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
That is because the other thing is people always ask, and I've got sons too. It's hard gymnastics when you're young. Boys gymnastics is hard. It's like a lot of
Very,
strength and like seriously, all of you guys are
yeah.
just like conditioning.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Especially at the gym I went to, half the practice was conditioning. You start your practice 10 rope climbs. Okay, okay. 3-minute hollow holds, 3-minute handstands. Okay, this is a lot for the age of 8. But I persevered. Couple, cried, but unfortunately that was part of the sport. But it's all good.
That's funny because I always wonder, it's a certain type to keep interested like that. Because boys, we have boys in our class and they're always bouncing off the walls. I have to have a boys
Yeah.
class because you guys are taught differently than girls. The energy
Yes.
is different. So the fact
Mhm.
that you, kind of persevered through all of that conditioning stuff is
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
No, yeah, no, I didn't love it. I didn't love it, but I really wanted to go far in gymnastics. But I love flipping. When I was young, I only started with 3 days a week, but because my brother was 5 years older, he was committed to doing 5 days a week. And then Macy was just really great by letting me be in the gym just on those days that I wasn't with the team. And he let me bounce on trampoline for like 3-4 hours at a time. So, I just love being in the gym. I was a gym rat. My parents were always in the gym. And not to mention I was, we lived about 50 minutes from the gym.
Wow.
So it was like a full family commitment to just, finish school, go to gym and just be there.
Right, because they couldn't drop you off or whatever. They had to take you
Yeah,
there, wait the whole
yeah,
time during practice, and then bring me. So it
exactly.
was grateful. No wonder you're going with your brothers going because it's just like, what are they gonna do with you?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so interesting. So then, pretty major, you get to Oklahoma. Gymnastics. I mean, that's Oklahoma different than Philly.
Yeah. No, I moved around when I was 15. I actually moved away from home and moved to Houston, Texas.
Oh, so you trained in
So
Houston.
I trained in Houston at Houston Gymnastics Academy. So my brother, when he finished high school, he moved down to Texas to train there. So essentially, I was just following my brother around. And then 2 years later, I moved to Texas because I just wasn't. I didn't feel I was maximizing my talent.
Mhm.
And this was after I left Macy, and then I went to a gym in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, which was almost 2 hours from Philly, which is right on the border. So it was just really tough to train at that point. And then my brother was like, "Yeah, you need to get him down here. This is the National Training Center." I trained with Kevin Majika,
Right.
was the coach. Rustam Sharapov was, my actual personal coach. I got a chance to
Mhm.
train Sean Townsend, Todd Thornton, the Henderson brothers, and, Jordan Jokchev was there at the time as well.
Wow.
So that's what I did for the 3 years before I got to Oklahoma. And
I
that's how
see.
that's how I really wound up at Oklahoma. Yeah.
Interesting. So when you went down to Texas, your brother was there.
Yeah,
So
he was there. Yep.
great. So that was nice that he was there.
Yeah, he was there. I lived with the family for a little bit. And then eventually my mom came down for a while. My dad stayed up in Philadelphia because my sister and oldest brother were still in school, in high school and college there. And then unfortunately, my father got prostate cancer. He's well now, but he got prostate cancer. So my mom moved back to Pennsylvania. So then I was just living there by myself because my brother had gotten a scholarship to Oklahoma. So I was just living with Rustam for a while, which was great. He took me in, and then eventually I had a roommate, Sean Golden.
Yeah,
Lived with
yeah,
Sean
yeah.
Golden. Yeah, lived with Sean Golden in an apartment before I wound up moving to Oklahoma for college.
Wow, that is such an amazing story because it's an amazing story. Not only you, I mean, it's so great that you had your other older brother, right?
Yeah,
But your dedication of your family. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think people really understand the input, the what the parents have to do to support a gymnast.
Oh, I tell people all the time, I'm like, if it wasn't for my parents' commitment to keeping me in the sport, paying and making the sacrifice of splitting the family up for gymnastics, no, there's no way I would have accomplished what I have. And I'm forever, forever grateful and indebted to my family, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, for, being willing to put up with the amount of time that we as a family spent for gymnastics.
That is amazing. But of course, it paid off. And I think
Oh,
the
for
one thing is
sure.
interesting. Yeah. But let me tell you, I was talking with Shayna, who's sport acrobatics, acrobat, whatever they call it. Now I'm such old school. I call it sport acrobatics. But
It's all right.
she was saying how much she loved gymnastics. Like she said, I would be at the front door crying, saying, "We don't be late." Like, I don't know if parents always understand, like you said, the dedication, but it couldn't have just been the dedication of your parents if you didn't like to do the work. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, that's true. That's true. When I was young, they had to drag me though. I'm not gonna lie. I was petrified on high bar and parallel bars. So when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, they would have to almost drag me out of the car. I'm like crying. Oh, I got high bar today. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm like, no, you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. Get out of the car.
That's good. That's funny.
So so it wasn't always just me, that they made me persevere.
That's good to know. It's always good to know. It takes a village,
It
yeah. And
takes a
so
village,
they were there to
exactly.
support you when you did. But what a career, though. So you went and you were training in Houston, which was really a hotbed for men's
Yeah,
gymnastics, for such a long time. And then
yeah.
how was your experience in Oklahoma? I mean, besides
Oklahoma.
setting barriers.
It was good at Oklahoma. I had a great time. I had, great coaching. When I first got there, I was coached obviously by Mark Williams, who is still the head coach. And
Mhm.
then my first year was Guard Young was the assistant, and Yuan Xiao Yuan, that who coaches down in Michigan. He was there my freshman year. So it was just a really, a nice balance of, just a current gymnast. Mark was a great, head coach, and then Xiao, who was, one of the best coaches in China for a while. And then after a year of being there, Rustam wound up coming up to Oklahoma and coaching. So essentially, I can say I was blessed to be coached by Rustam Sharapov for most of my senior career. He's such a great person. And then generally as teammates were great. I obviously as college you come through a lot of teammates and whatnot, but for the most part, I would say my time at Oklahoma was, it was life changing, a lot of growth, a lot of development. Obviously through those years you're learning and growing a lot as a person. But overall, I can't say that my college experience was anything outside of spectacular.
Wow, that's really impressive. Now, during that time, of course, you broke barriers. So, yeah, tell us about winning Nancy 2A champ. Let's be clear, we're celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. We are celebrating. It's again, I thank you all the time for acknowledging my accomplishments through your social media. It really does mean a lot to be recognized for it. But when I look back on the day, I'm still always ice. Unfortunately, it's still bittersweet for me because during that time, it happened my junior year when I was at Oklahoma. We had won team titles my freshman year, my sophomore year. So I was just in this mode of just, team, 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 team. We win as a team, we win as a team. And then that year, unfortunately, we got second place. And then I won. And it was just like, oh man, it was just, I wasn't, at that point, I really, really felt my best when the team was as successful as myself. So in the moment, I remember being excited, but not really fully excited because our goal was to win as a team. It took, it's taking years for me to fully just enjoy that fact that I did, win NCAAs and I was the first African American to ever do it. And at that moment, I didn't know that I actually was, I had just assumed that maybe Cheney or Jair or someone in front of me had won. It's like, well, come on, we've had a lot of successful African-American gymnasts. So I just assumed. And then probably maybe, 2, 3, 4 days after, they were like, oh, no, you're the first one. I was like, okay, hang my hat on that for the rest of my life. That's good.
It's true. That's true. The first,
Yeah.
the first, that's major.
Yeah.
So how did you like, as far as your other career outside of college, about competing for the US and all that type of stuff? How was that as an athlete?
As an athlete, that was it was good. It exposed me to the world. As someone that grew up in the inner city of Philadelphia, I don't think I would have gotten an opportunity to see the world like I have. I remember my first trip out of the country was to China, and that was just mind blown. I'm from inner city Philadelphia. I'm living in Houston, and then my first time leaving the country is like just completely different. And then to go there, and that was being an African American or just a Black person in China, they almost assume you're a celebrity. I'm walking around with some Team USA gear. Random people want to stop me and take pictures. I was like, what is this all about? So that was just like, really eye-opening experience in my life. And then, generally it's, it was, I enjoyed my opportunities to compete and represent the United States. It was really good. But then, I did have these random moments, having, being a Muslim and having an Abdullah-Simmons, Taqiy Abdullah-Simmons as my name, especially during, shortly after 9/11, being African-American, there were so many different things that sometimes would just be like, oh, parents were being just very cautious about me and when I traveled and things like that. I do remember on my way to Olympic trials, I'm at the airport, and I get stopped checking in. They were like, someone's using your name. I was like, what? They were like, yeah, someone's honestly using your name. I was like, I was 18 at the time. I know nothing about this. This is 2004. They're like, yeah, just, we're just gonna have to hold you back for a little bit. And it was just like, I had no idea what was going on. Obviously I got through, but it was just one of those situations where, having an Arabic name and just, just small things like that throughout my gymnastics career would just be there. But when it comes to representing the United States, it was a privilege and a pleasure to get the opportunities that I had.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And that part, you're right. You had to carry a lot with your name when you're traveling, like you said, after 9/11.
Yeah.
Not the easiest. People always, that's on top of things, right? On top of
Yeah.
being a Black American in general. I think people now are understanding a little bit more about the
Yeah.
challenges overall. I think people, it's like, I think they see it now, and maybe, we're all doing gymnastics and we do it because we love it, and you become great because you practice really hard, right? But the other part, like you said, going through being Muslim and Black, on top of that, yes, the travel, it must have been quite the challenge.
Yeah. It was, the travel is a challenge, and then just, generally you stand out. You stand out way more in just everything you do. As an African American, you stand out in the sport, especially in men's gymnastics. They're more, African American women gymnasts than male gymnasts. So when I go to competitions, there's normally one other African American gymnast I'm competing with, and it so happens that eventually he wound up joining Oklahoma. And just because I remember just seeing him. His name's Ian Jackson, and I used to be that one guy I used to see across the way, and we used to be so super competitive. Our coaches were super competitive with each other. We didn't know each other at all, but it was almost like I was always trying to beat him, and so there's almost this rivalry between the only African American. Instead of us being like, kumbaya, it was more like, oh, I would have beat you. And then we didn't know each other at all. And then he comes on his recruiting trip, and then it was like we were brothers from the moment that he was there. And then he winds up coming to Oklahoma. So So it just goes back to just, being in those environments in gymnastics and being the only one, most of the time, and then having, Muslim parents, my mother wearing a kimar and things like that, and just standing out so much. So, you have to carry yourself with a lot of pride. You cannot be an athlete that kind of just shies away from that and feels uncomfortable. You have to really pick yourself up and carry yourself with a lot of pride, because if, gymnastics is a performance sport. So if you are kind of sheltered and shy in how you go about it, it will show in what you do. So it was so important that, that my parents constantly told me to be proud of what you do, be proud of who you are. My mom had a background in dance, and she did gymnastics a little bit growing up. So she was always on top of me about, performance and being proud and everything like that. So, I didn't think about it a whole lot. I tell people all the time, obviously I knew I was an African-American gymnast, and but I did a really good job at just being like, whatever, this is my life. This is who I am. Not like I can change anything about it. So I've rarely really thought about it, and I just went about my business.
Wow. No, that's amazing. And it's such a good message. It's really important. Like you said, it's a performance sport. You have to be out there. And now I
Exactly.
see, I was looking at that because you said you have a gymnastics performance company, right? And I'm always, I'm a big fan, work with Anna
Yeah.
Grafley as one of the founder members of that. And I'd
Yep.
love, I don't think people appreciate as much, because I'm always arguing, through the foundation, we're always raising money. And I'm like, most of my kids are going to be performers. Some of them are
Yeah.
going to be gymnasts, but most of them are going to be dancing someplace and flipping and
Yeah.
performing.
Exactly. I tell a lot of guys that I coach, I'm like, hey, like, just, gymnastics is such a hard sport to continually make money off of the years and years of work that you put into it. Like, you become a coach, but what's outside of that? And I tell the guys, I'm like, hey, there's always Cirque, you know what I mean? Well, hopefully eventually Cirque will get back up, but there was Cirque. I went to Disney World. I was a tumble monkey in the Lion King. So, after going through those years of being a performer, I was like, this is something that if you have a hard time figuring out what you want to do, then go perform. Just figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life while you are making money using the skills that you spent years and years developing. So, and then you learn how to perform, and it's just great. I love the performance aspect. Whenever I'm a coach, I'm like, yeah, you're out there doing gymnastics, but you're out there by yourself. You're out there performing. Like, enjoy it. Like, show off. That's what I tell people all the time. Show off. This is the time to do it. You don't put in all these hours in the gym to go into the competition just feeling scared. So perform what you do.
Oh, that's a great message, right? Yeah, not to be scared after all that work you put in. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. So, for one, I'm so glad to sit and talk with you. It's, the pandemic, of course, has been tough. But Pam Majumdar, who is my social media consultant, she's been asking me to do this for years. I must
Yeah.
say, I've enjoyed it so much, getting to really sit and talk with you, and to talk, because otherwise it would have been too hard for us to plan it, especially since you're in Australia.
It's okay though. It's okay though. I make it work. Like I said, my business partners are back in America. So, I've done so many different things at odd times of the day. Sometimes you have to have a meeting. I'm up at 3, 4 in the morning. It's just what I do. If you want to be successful, you just got to make it work no matter what it is. So, I tell people I'm always available. If I have to not sleep that much that day, then, whatever, I'll make it up another time. But, I enjoy connecting with people, and I'm from America, my heart's there, so I'll do whatever it takes to commit to people that want to contact me or be in touch. So, and then I have a 24-hour phone, just constant, you know what I mean? Officially after about a year and a half of being here, I realized I was like, I probably should do a do not disturb. So I'm not getting messages. I used to wake up all times of the day, just, 2, 3 in the morning. I see all these messages from my business partners being like, just 30 messages. And the first thing I do, I wake up and I'm just scrolling. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff that's going on right now. And it's just like 6 in the morning. I'm like, oh, my day already started.
Right, right. But now you got it
Yeah.
balanced out. You know how to.
Yeah. I have it much more balanced out with the do not disturb, giving myself at least, 20, 30 minutes to not look at all the messages that I get right when I wake up, just so I'm just not feeling overwhelmed just when the day starts.
Right. That's
Yeah.
a good idea. That's a good idea. Oh my gosh. So are there any other things, messages or things you wanted to say to the gymnastics community as a whole, or the Black gymnastics community, or people like
Ah, people that like you, well, obviously, given that it's Black History Month, I will speak directly to, just anyone that's, minority or African American, just in general, just carry yourself with pride. You know that there's been so many people that paved the road before you that, have been successful. So don't think that by any means, because of, the color of your skin, that you won't have an opportunity to be successful. Yeah, it may be a little bit harder, but just understand that it's only going to build character, and it's only going to make you feel even more proud of the accomplishments that you do have. So that is like the one thing to those select people. But then to gymnastics as a whole, it's a great sport. You learn so much from it. You learn perseverance, you learn falling, you learn how to get over fear, which fear lives with you for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It's like, even though you're not flipping, there's so many things that you'll go through in life that you'll be scared to try and scared to do. So gymnastics is one of those sports that really set you up to, attack those fears and go after what you really want in life. So stick with it, persevere. And even if you're not the greatest gymnast ever, you still have a lot of lessons that you'll get from it.
Oh, that's great. I really love it. Thank you so much. Now, you got to tell
Yeah.
me this poster behind you. I mean, I'm looking, isn't it Muhammad Ali? Yes, I thought it was the man. Yes. Getting your
Yep, the
straight.
champ. Yeah, all the time. I grew up. My father was a boxer, so I grew up always just being inspired that like he is the first athlete that I looked up to, and really look, my father would just say, he is the model of someone that that you need to look up to because of one, his athletic success, his ability to speak up and speak out for the issues, and then also he was a flawed human. He wasn't perfect, and just because you're not a perfect human doesn't mean that you can't speak out on things and you don't have a voice, and utilize your platform. And that's something that I think that really resonated with me and my family as a whole, by always being willing to speak up for the little person and to do your very best to help and be a good person, and be a good a model citizen for society. So, Muhammad Ali is someone that, right when I got to Australia and I finally started putting stuff up on my walls, which took a while because, it's expensive to move out here and it's expensive to live here. So when I started putting things up on my wall, I saw this and I was like, yeah, I have to get it.
Oh, that's great.
Everywhere I go, I have to have Muhammad Ali in my house.
I love it.
Everywhere.